You scroll, you watch, you listen. One video after another, one post after another, until your eyes start closing on their own, and you think this is normal. You think everyone does this. But let me tell you what's really happening. You're running away from silence. Every single night, you're running away from the moment when you're left alone with yourself, because silence is terrifying. In silence, everything you've been avoiding all day comes to the surface. All those questions you don't want to answer. All those feelings you don't want to feel. All those truths about your life you don't want to face. So you numb yourself. You fill every second before sleep with someone else's voice, someone else's story, someone else's reality. You let the algorithm feed you whatever it thinks will keep you watching. And it works. You watch until your phone falls from your hand. You watch until consciousness finally gives up and pulls you under. But here's what you don't realize. This isn't just a harmless habit. This is you training yourself to never be alone with your own mind. This is you building a wall between yourself and everything that wants to emerge from within you. Every night, you're choosing distraction over awareness. You're choosing numbness over feeling. You're choosing to fall asleep to someone else's words instead of listening to your own. And the irony is, you're exhausted from this. You think the content relaxes you, but it doesn't. It just postpones the moment when you have to stop running. Your mind never gets a chance to settle naturally. It never gets to process the day, to sort through what happened, to find its own rhythm. Instead, you force-feed it information until it shuts down from overload. Think about it. When was the last time you just lay down in silence and let yourself fall asleep naturally? When was the last time you allowed your thoughts to wander where they wanted to go? When was the last time you weren't afraid of being alone with yourself? Most people can't even remember, because we've built this entire ecosystem of distraction. We've normalized this constant noise. We've made it socially acceptable to never face ourselves. And we call it relaxation. We call it unwinding. But really, it's avoidance at an industrial scale. By the way, our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. Now, let me show you what you're actually avoiding, because it's not random. The things that surface in silence, the things you're running from, they're not your enemies. They're messengers. When you lie down in silence, your mind starts replaying the day. Not as entertainment, but as processing. It's trying to make sense of what happened. It's trying to integrate your experiences. It's trying to show you patterns you missed while you were busy living. But you don't let it. You interrupt this natural process with videos about someone else's life, someone else's opinions, someone else's noise. And here's the thing about this processing, this natural unwinding of your mind. It's where insights come from. It's where solutions appear. It's where you suddenly understand something that's been puzzling you for weeks. But you have to give it space. You have to give it silence. You have to be willing to just be there while it happens. But there's something deeper you're avoiding. Something underneath all the day's events and unprocessed thoughts. You're avoiding the big questions. The ones about your life, your choices, your direction. The ones that don't have easy answers. The ones that might require you to change something. In silence, these questions get loud. They start asking things like, are you living the life you actually want? Are you moving towards something meaningful or just away from discomfort? Are you making choices or just following the path of least resistance? Who are you becoming? And is that who you want to be? These questions are uncomfortable. They don't have simple answers you can Google. They require you to sit with uncertainty, to acknowledge that you don't have everything figured out, to admit that maybe you've been living on autopilot. So you avoid them. You cover them up with content until your consciousness gives up and you can escape into sleep. But here's what happens when you keep avoiding these questions. They don't go away. They just get heavier. They accumulate in the background of your life like debt. And eventually, they don't ask politely anymore. They demand answers. They create anxiety you can't explain, restlessness you can't satisfy, a feeling that something is wrong even when everything seems fine. This is why you feel exhausted even after sleeping 8 hours. This is why you wake up already tired, because your mind has been working overtime all night trying to process everything you wouldn't let it process while you were awake. All that content you consumed, all those thoughts you avoided, all those questions you buried, your mind has to deal with them somehow. So it does it in your sleep, in your dreams, in that restless, half-conscious state where you're not really resting. You think you're taking care of yourself by relaxing with content, but you're actually making yourself more tired. You're creating more work for your mind, not less. You're filling yourself up with noise and calling it rest. And there's another layer to this. When you numb yourself with content every night, you're training yourself to need external stimulation to feel okay. You're losing the ability to just be. You're becoming dependent on distraction. You're teaching yourself that you can't handle your own company, that you need something outside yourself to make being alive tolerable. This dependency doesn't stay confined to bedtime. It spreads. Soon you can't sit in a waiting room without checking your phone. You can't eat a meal without watching something. You can't take a walk without listening to something. Every moment of potential silence becomes an emergency that needs to be filled. You're not relaxing. You're becoming addicted to never being present with yourself. But here's where it gets interesting, because once you see this pattern, once you really understand what you're doing, you can't unsee it. And that's when transformation becomes possible. That's when you can make a different choice. What if you tried something radical? What if, just for tonight, you lay down in silence? No video, no podcast, no music. Just you and the darkness and whatever comes up. What if you let yourself feel whatever you're feeling? What if you let those uncomfortable questions surface? What if you gave your mind the space it's been begging for? I know this sounds terrifying. I know your first thought is, I can't do that. I'll never fall asleep. But that's the addiction talking. That's the part of you that's scared of what you might discover in the silence. That's the part that would rather stay numb than wake up. But here's the truth. Your mind knows how to fall asleep. It's been doing it your entire life, long before smartphones, long before streaming, long before this endless feed of content. Humans knew how to sleep. We just lay down and let it happen. And you can too. The first few nights might be difficult. You might lie there for a while. Thoughts might flood in. Feelings might surface. But this isn't a problem. This is the processing that needs to happen. This is your mind finally getting the chance to do its work. Let it. judge it. Just be there with it. And something magical starts to happen. The thoughts that seemed so overwhelming, they start to settle. The feelings you were avoiding, they move through you and release. The questions that seemed so heavy, they start to clarify. Your mind begins to find its natural rhythm again. You start to notice patterns you never saw before. You start to understand things about yourself that were always there, but hidden under layers of distraction. You start to hear that quiet voice inside that's been trying to guide you all along. The one that gets drowned out by all the external noise. This is where real rest begins. Not the forced shutdown of an overstimulated mind, but the natural settling of a mind that's been given space to be. This is where healing happens. This is where insights emerge. This is where you start to reconnect with yourself. And sleep becomes different. It's not an escape anymore. It's not something you have to force with content and exhaustion. It's a natural transition into rest. Your mind winds down on its own. Your body relaxes without being tricked into it. You fall asleep not because you've numbed yourself into submission, but because you're genuinely ready to rest. You wake up different too. Instead of that groggy heaviness, there's a clarity. Instead of waking up already tired, you actually feel rested because your mind got to do its work while you were awake. It doesn't have to spend all night trying to process what you wouldn't let it process before. This isn't about perfection. Some nights you'll still want to watch something before bed. That's fine. The difference is now it's a choice, not a compulsion. Now you're aware of what you're doing and why. You're not running away from silence. You're choosing entertainment consciously. And that changes everything, because awareness transforms everything it touches. Once you see the pattern, once you understand why you're doing what you're doing, you can't do it unconsciously anymore. And that's where freedom begins. The content will always be there. The videos, the posts, the endless stream of distraction. It's not going anywhere, but you don't have to let it have you. You don't have to give it your nights, your peace, your chance to know yourself. You can choose differently. You can choose silence. You can choose presence. You can choose to be with yourself. And when you do, something shifts. Life doesn't feel like something you're trying to escape from anymore. It feels like something you're actually living. The questions don't seem so terrifying. The silence doesn't feel so empty. You start to discover that being alone with yourself isn't something to avoid. It's where everything you've been looking for actually lives. This moment right now, you reading this, letting these words reach you, this is already a step toward that. You're already choosing awareness over numbness. You're already deciding to look at what you've been avoiding. That takes courage. Don't underestimate that. So tonight, try it. Just once. Put the phone away. Turn off the screen. Lie down in the darkness and just be there. Whatever comes up, let it. Whatever you feel it. Whatever questions arise, let them arise. Don't run. Don't numb. Just be present with yourself and notice what happens. Notice how your mind eventually settles. Notice how sleep comes when you stop fighting it. Notice how you wake up the next morning actually rested for the first time in forever. Notice how life starts to feel different when you're not constantly running from it. This is the beginning of something. Not an ending, but an opening. An opening to a way of being that doesn't require constant distraction to feel okay. An opening to knowing yourself instead of avoiding yourself. an opening to actually living your life instead of numbing your way through it. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, "I choose presence." Write it as your promise to yourself. Nobody